Hello and welcome back to our weekly eShop Switch Games sales roundup, where we help you cut through the noise and find the best bargains across the UK, EU and US eShops. Let us know what your pick of the week is in the comments, as each week we give away a $10 eShop voucher to one person who shared their pick. Later on we will announce last week's winner, but for now let's jump in and take a look at these deals. Kicking things off with my pick of the week, it's The Way of the Passive Fist. On the face of it, this is your regular side-scrolling beat-em-up, but instead of beating your enemies, you play as the Wanderer, a warrior determined to avoid hurting others most of the time. Passive Fist indeed, as your way to beat enemies is through blocking, dodging and parrying. Enemies will become fatigued and you can move on to the next baddie in your way. Essentially, this means the game plays out like a rhythm-based fighter where you need to get your timings just right to build up your combo meter. The soundtrack is excellent and the visuals are also very cool. The result is a surprisingly refreshing take on a genre that is, for the most part, quite worn. Anyone who enjoys beat-em-ups and wants something new should give this a go, and if rhythm games are your thing, you might be surprised by this as well. With 90% off, this is a fantastic bargain that is easy to recommend. Jordan, Juan, what are your picks this week?
What's up everyone, Jordan here with my pick of the week. This week I'm going to go for something a little bit unexpected, considering that I've never mentioned this game before, but this week's pick for me is My Hero One's Justice, which is 60% off now, just $17.99 in the UK, $23.99 in euros and US dollars. That is a tempting price for this often overlooked fighting game. Yes, when it comes to Bandai Fighters, Dragon Ball Fighters is usually the only one that people ever talk about, but at this price you'll definitely get some fun out of this one for sure. Plus, the sequel is heading to the Switch in a few weeks time from now, so perhaps this one will get you in the mood for that. And that's my pick of the week, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much, James. My pick of the week is Doom, the original from '93. When I was 14, I played Doom for the first time, and I remember it as being one of the best games I had ever played at the time. I still remember those that had it talking about it at school and the buzz Doom had created. I had played it over and over, even though my computer at the time was way too slow to play it and was on the old original CRT screens. I have great memories, so when you have the opportunity to return to your childhood with a game that is a real piece of history yet still fun, and in the Switch version includes the expansion of The Flesh Continued, and that has an additional 9 levels, local player deathmatch and 4-player co-op, then this demon-slaying action-packed FPS is way too good to pass up for £1.20 in the UK, with a massive 70% off, and for our US friends and European friends it's $1.49. A total bargain. That's my pick of the week, but I'm not finished yet. Let's talk about a few more bargains before I leave you today with your host James. I want to talk about Doom 2. Such was the success of Doom that as a teenager completing the original, I couldn't wait to see if there would be more, and boy was I happy when Doom 2 came out only a year later. And this time it had a proper retail release. I remember I had about 5 floppy disks and I loaded up this bad boy and was again amazed. Shotguns, miniguns, loads of demons, and it was at this time in my life when I didn't have money, of course, so I kept bothering my mum to get me a better computer. That didn't quite happen, but while there was no massive advances in the visuals at the time, I do remember the levels were bigger, more intricate, was more non-linear, and just felt epic. I even managed to try dial-up multiplayer with a friend, which really gave me an insight at the time into how games would evolve in the future. Again, this brilliant game can be nabbed for as little as £1.20, and for our friends in the US and in Europe, you're looking at $1.49. Again, a massive 70% off. Before I leave you, let's talk about Doom 3, which took ID Software 10 years to release after Doom 2, was a reboot of the series, and what a great reboot this was. Visuals had come a long way, gameplay mechanics had evolved, but the gameplay on Doom 3 of slaying demons had remained as fun as hell, with a story included in the main campaign. A great action horror this indeed is, and can now be picked up also for a very cheap price of just £2.40 in the UK, $2.99 or €3, with a massive 70% off. If I were you, I'd pick up all 3. So last but not least, I'm going to talk about Doom, that came out in 2016, was co-developed by Bethesda and ID Software, and was actually announced as Doom 4 in 2008. It had gone through extensive developments and builds before being restarted back in 2011 and just being called Doom again. Finally, it was released for us to enjoy in 2016. I absolutely loved it. It was fast-paced, had an awesome soundtrack, and if you've not played this fantastic shooter on the Switch, then the port from Panic Button is absolutely outstanding. Here you can slash, stomp and blow demons apart in this fantastic violent action shooter, and this version now has 50% off and is a great £24.99, $29.99 in the US, or $29.99 respectively in Europe. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. James, Jordan, see you next week. Take care.
Great picks there, guys. Graveyard Keeper is a Stardew Valley type game, except with dead bodies. While it doesn't quite reach the level of that game in terms of quality, it's still a very decent enough effort, and there's quite a bit of varied fun to be had, especially with it now having 50% off. It was $19.99 and now it's up for $9.99, which for us is an excellent price. We think this one is definitely worth a punt if you're wanting something like Stardew, but with a bit of a twist. The Way is a cinematic platforming adventure game originally from Puzzling Dream. It was released last year on Steam, but thanks to Sonka, it's been remastered and published on the Nintendo Switch, with an aim to hark back to classic games such as Flashback and Another World with modern integrations. We experienced some bugs when this first came out, but the team have made some fixes, and at 90% off, now is a good time to buy. Streets of Rogue is a roguelite that features fast-paced action and is set in a city instead of the usual dungeons synonymous with these games. It looks a bit like Enter the Gungeon, but this is all about choice. There are 24 classes, most of them unlocked as you start with just 6, and you can essentially be whoever you want to be and tackle the game however you want. It leads to intriguing runs, and when you throw in multiplayer with up to 3 friends alongside you, this becomes even more exciting. The Bridge is a puzzle game with its roots embedded in both art and science. The levels are mind-bending, and your goal is to manipulate the environment and later on locate keys and items in order to make it through. There are 24 levels to be enjoyed in this artistic style game that is short but definitely worth it with a whopping 90% off. Inspired by fast races with combat, games like Wipeout and certainly Roll Cage, Grip aims to emulate that sense of chaotic carnage and speed. The cars can grip onto walls and even ceilings, and there is certainly a sense of speed as you make your way around the tracks, which gives this a Rocket League style feel. It's not perfect and it's unforgiving, but it's fast paced, and with 75% off it's definitely worth a look. There's no two ways around it, EA made a real pig's ear of FIFA 20 on the Switch. 18 was the first decent FIFA title on a handheld device, but it missed lots of key content. 19 made a lot of progress, but still was way off its counterparts on other consoles, missing key modes as well as the expected visual engine being an older one. With 20, things took a bad turn. Instead of bridging the gap further, they simply slapped on the words Legacy Edition and brought transfer and kit updates and called it FIFA 20. A really poor move. With that said, if you don't own FIFA 18 or 19 on the Switch and you want to experience FIFA on the move, then now is the time with 50% off. You just need to know going into this that what you are getting is a lazy repackaging of last year's title. Masters of Anima is an interesting indie game, a real-time strategy adventure game that feels a lot like Pikmin as you control your minions, known as Guardians, to attack giant bosses as well as solve environmental puzzles. We quite enjoyed reviewing this one, and looking back, it really is a unique game, especially with the lack of Pikmin around on the Switch. It's currently 75% off, down from $20 to just $5 in the US and now £4 in the UK, and I think it's worth it for anybody at that price. The Dragon Ball world is epic and full of lore, great characters and epic moments, and Xenoverse 2 aims to cram all of that into an open world fighter akin to an MMORPG, but with more of a focus on combat. If that sounds exciting, that's because it is. The game is huge, and the ability to take control of your own created character into this world is enticing. The port to the Switch is decent and the visuals still look great, a bargain with a whopping 75% off. With a real Blade Runner vibe, State of Mind is a narrative-driven story adventure set in 2048 Berlin. The story is predictable but enjoyable, like watching a cheesy sci-fi flick whilst eating popcorn on your couch. The visuals stand out as stunning, the look of the world is wonderful, and it's a high point. Throughout the game you are a passenger, you will interact with a few puzzles here and there, but ultimately you are along to see the journey. At its original price, it's just way too much to ask of this 10 or so hour long journey. At a much more reasonable $99, it's definitely worth a look. Figment is a fantastical look into the inner workings of the human mind. It challenges depression, joy, and the full spectrum of our inner thoughts in a playful puzzle game. The visual style is wonderful, the colours and quirky ideas of the mindscape are portrayed very well. The puzzles and gameplay for the most part are good, but not great. There is some light combat and some tracking back to figure out how to progress. Overall, this is a very enjoyable game worth picking up. First and foremost, this is a one-button platforming game. The rest is about timing that button press to make your sprite jump at the right time. The controls feel really good and responsive, and any death here is going to be your own fault. It sounds like the most simplistic game in the world, and there can't be much to it, but like any good addictive game, it absolutely gets the mechanics and controls bang on. It is a quality game on the Switch that everyone should try, especially at this price. It's easy for these games to get lost amongst all the other titles, but it would be a shame to miss out on the quality and fun for all the family this delivers throughout. One more jump, I'm in all the way on this bargain. Silence is the follow-up to The Whispered World, and it's a point-and-click adventure that looks gorgeous. The theme is of personal growth and some dark discovery into your own fears. Apart from the looks, the audio is decent, and the puzzles are enjoyable with a few different elements thrown in for good measure. The biggest issue with this game was its steep price tag. At $13.59, this is a much more reasonable ask for what is a pretty game that you can enjoy from start to finish. Another point-and-click adventure from Daedalic Entertainment with a similar issue. It's a good game with a steep price tag. Instead of Silence's serious deep take into the mind, DEPONIA is instead a slapstick adventure that harks back to Monkey Island. If you like over-the-top, silly jokes and a not too serious point-and-click game that looks lovely, then take a look at this one. Mana Spark was recently on sale in the UK and EU, and now it has a whopping 90% off in the US. We simply couldn't leave it off. For less than $1, this accomplished dungeon crawler is a steal. It had some real issues at launch, but the devs sorted all of those out, and what we're left with is a solid, just one more run roguelike. The King's Bird is a platformer with a focus on precision, accuracy, and pace is needed to succeed. There are some nice mechanics. You have the ability to glide and wall jump and will need to time them just right to succeed. The visuals are really nice and the soundtrack is also decent. It's a crowded genre, and at the original price it's tough to recommend over other titles, but with 75% off it's definitely worth dipping into if you fancy a tricky platformer with some different mechanics. One Strike is the simplest game you will ever play. One Strike leads to success or failure. It's addictive and simple with just 2 buttons, attack or defend. It is the essence of fighting distilled to its purest form. We really enjoyed its simplicity and style. One worth checking out for just 99 cents. There's not loads to it, but you will enjoy it. Image and Form continue to knock it out of the park with their SteamWorld series. This time around it is in the form of a turn-based RPG. It is fresh and fun to play with an intriguing and deep combat system that uses cards to great effect. The graphics and music are at the level that we've come to expect from Image and Form. This is another brilliant game from them. And there you have a bunch of bargains worth picking up. Let us know your pick this week down below, and next Sunday we will give away a $10 eShop voucher. Speaking of which, last week's winner is Tay Baker. Congratulations, Tay. Please email us and we will get you that voucher. You can read a lovely write-up of this list over at switchwatch.co.uk, as well as finding some awesome articles. That's it from me today, but if you enjoyed this, please tune back in next Sunday for more bargains. Jordan's fabulous physical release roundup will be out tomorrow, and I cannot wait for that. Plus, did you see my review of Metro Redux? 2 great games with an amazing port, which you can check out the review of up at the top right hand side. If you are after a Pro Controller alternative, have a look at Juan's awesome comparison video as well. If you enjoy our content, well, thank you for watching, and please do consider subscribing. See you soon. Take care.